Welcome to my show. I'm a guest here. Her name is Kate Hamilton. Kate, how we doing, ma?
I'm doing amazing. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you, ma. I really appreciate it. And firstly, I want to go to your background. You've earned an MBA in an international business. You're also a former corporate executive and an entrepreneur. So your backgrounds really show you are into the business world today. Can you please, ma, walk us through your journey, issues and how you are doing currently now, ma?
So, yeah, my background is absolutely business, business, business. I was on a very, very singular path. I didn't think when I was younger I was going to get married, not going to have kids. I was going to be, this corporate exec and rule the world, right? Well, then I met my husband, that is my current husband, my only husband,
Oh,
and 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 I really realized I did want to have kids, and I did want to go on this other journey, um, because life is about fulfillment. And um, for me, just thinking about my world and just having me in it wasn't fulfilling. And when I had other people to care about and take care of, it opened this whole new aspect too of my abilities and really my passions. And it stretched me, man. Raising kids stretched me beyond what I thought um, was really going to be, oh, it's so easy. We just know how to do this. No, it's not. So, but then, so fast forward, and, after my kids were raised and they're both in college and one's about to graduate college, I really sat down and decided that it was important to kind of write down my struggles, my failures, and my successes, and really what I wanted to pass on to the next generation. Because what my parents did raising me, they did the best they possibly could with the information that they had. And I'm literally standing on their backs. And I wanted to pass on the wonderful traditions that they gave me, but I also wanted to break some of the bad habits that I learned from them. And it's something you've got to be intentional about and work on it because you're ingrained in it. And so that's kind of my process. Um, and really, that brought me, and the reason I think we're talking is because I wrote this book about raising kids. And the other thing that got me or realized why I wanted to write this book is because my mother in law sat me down and she told me how she raised her son. So I not only had the benefit of my background, but I had the benefit of her background. And I knew that that's something that I wanted to give to my future daughter in laws. And not because I wanted to control how they raise my grandkids, but I want them to intentionally add their unique background, their uniqueness, what they're bringing to my sons, and be aware of what my son is bringing into, and create an amazing future on my back.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Kate. And I can also relate to that. When someone is young, you can just have this imagination of big, big, big things. I also had those imagination when I was young, but as time goes, I realize that this world is not the way it is at all. And I really saw your achievement with your kids. Wow. graduated from college. Congratulations on that one too, man. And I want to like you to discuss more on your book. I think you've written book. I can you discuss more on your book, and are you also planning to write another one, man?
It's interesting you asked that question because yes, I do plan on writing more. I really find the joy in organizing my words and thoughts. Um, and I enjoy telling stories. As you can tell, I have
Yes,
a
I
lot of
can see.
words.
Yes.
But so my book is called The Imperfect Parent. It's a non-judgmental guide to raising children in the modern world.
Okay.
And it's really about me raising my boys. It's about my mistakes. It's
Okay.
about what I learned as I raised them. It's about me really looking at other people and what they were doing, figuring out what was best for my family. Um, and I wrote it in the perspective of a guide because raising kids, every child is unique. Every child is different. I mean, even, I'm the same mom, but I have two different sons. And I have to show up appropriate for the child that's in front of me at the moment in time.
Mm,
And I've got to understand that sometimes being imperfect is better than trying to stress yourself out and go for perfection all the time. Because I just think, if somebody goes to the nicest hotel and stays in the nicest hotel, their family comes back and what's the story? Oh, the hotel was nice.
yeah.
Somebody goes on a camping trip and the bear comes and knocks down your tent and eats all your food. Man, do you have a great story?
Yeah.
And your family bonded, came closer together, and learned even more from that experience.
Mm.
And so I think you can learn more from failing or making mistakes than you possibly could from perfection.
Mm. That's huge. It's true. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate Mrs. Kate. And I want to go to the point of strategy. There will always be strategy in a way someone talk to children. What do you think is the strategy I think is very effective in encouraging children to explore what they are really interested about?
So I have lots of different strategies. I'm a big I agree with you. Strategy is just it really, but you have to have different strategies for different kids.
Okay.
So one of my children, it's very easy to just sit him down and ask questions, and he'll constantly tell you even more, and you keep on talking to him and asking him, and he's also a kid that can be challenged. He loves challenges. Hey, what about this? Hey, what about, and other people help motivate him. Hell, I just found out that this person has tried this. Is that something that you would want to try? And so, but that's his strategy, and that works for him. Now, other people it does not work for. And his brother, for instance, his strategy is, hey, he's collaborative. Hey, let's do that together. Let's learn as a family. Let's go learn this topic. Tell me more about a topic you're interested in. Let's all go together and learn about that. And watch how he excels because he's more a collaborative type of person. And I think as parents, the overall strategy that I use is one, communication and constantly asking questions, and the questions that are open ended questions. Don't tell them, don't give them a yes and no response or the ability to respond yes and no. Give them a question where they have to say even more, and then pause, wait, and sit and ask them, because who knows, they might say even something else. And then even when they think they're done, ask them, hey, tell me more. I mean, it's one of my kids are like, Mom, stop saying, tell me more. But it's a great question. Tell me more. Um, and I also have this thing called the 8-year rule. 8 years before my kid, or before I think my child needs to know the information, I start teaching it to them. I start demystifying different topics that they're going to need to know about. And I mean, we talk about everything, sex, drug, rock and roll, politics, everything you're not supposed to talk about. But we do it 8 years before they're going to, experience it. So they then become the expert amongst their friends because they have been talking about it a long time. And maybe even if they're not the expert, when they find information about it from their friends that they think is a little different or not quite what they thought, they'll come back and ask us, me and my husband, because it's a topic that we've communicated on. And it's a free topic to talk about, no matter what it is.
Yes, I really thank you so much, Mrs. Keith, and that really shows that every single children are very, very different. There's a way they handle them, but and I really appreciate for that, man. And I want to go to the point where parents can create an environment for their kids to be able to express themselves. You understand? How do you think parents can create that environment where they can support this self-expression in their kids so that their children will be able to express themselves? Because there are some children like that. They always like to just, keep quiet, they don't see anything. How do you think a parents can create that type of environment, ma?
Well, one of the things that we would do is we had family dinners. But and at the family dinners, we had topics of discussion too. And everybody got an opportunity to speak. And we were very adamant about making sure everybody had their turn. And we even would play this game at sometimes where I'm going to tell you what I want to talk about. And then I'm going to ask a question about what I want somebody else at the table to talk about. And then I get to ask a question that I want to ask, and it's not seen as bad. Everybody has to ask somebody else a question. Now, so that's the first round. We say what we want to talk about, and then what we want somebody else to talk about. And then the second round is we go around and we answer either what we wanted to talk about, we get to say, or we talk about what somebody else wanted us to talk about. And this way is, again, it opens communication. And the other thing that we did, we made our kids really involved in the family rules and structures. My mind, kind of overly works on, oh, how can I implement different strategies? And one of the things we did was, okay, we set up a quote family constitution. My husband was the president. The kids and I were the representatives or Congress, and then me alone was the judiciary branch. So, for instance, if somebody wanted to bring up a rule or make a suggestion in the family, we'd have a family meeting, and the kids then would start talking and bring up, hey, here's this quote bill or rule that I want in our family, or suggestion for a holiday. This is what I want, and I'm talking about it during the family meeting. Then we'll discuss it and we'll get different, you got to get your brother and mom to agree, and maybe as a family meeting we talk about it, and then we vote on it. And the way we kept it so that the parents, quote, had the ultimate say was the president could veto it. But in general, we if everybody agreed, the president didn't need to veto it. And it changed. As we discussed it, it changed so that it was good for the family as a whole, not just the one person. But it was we had many different ways
Mm.
where the kids could speak up, speak their mind, and participate in what was going on in the family.
That's a very, very good answer. Thank you so much, Mrs. Kate. And I just want to ask if you've gotten any experience. I know you have your own kids now, but with
Yeah.
other children, I want to know maybe you've had any experience where you help them develop a sense of who they really are.
Uh
This is who
oh.
you are.
Yes. So, one of the things that I find really fulfilling is helping other kids and really talking to them and finding out. And my house was literally the house where all the kids used to come and hang out. And, you know, uh, during COVID, as a lot of people were on lockdown,
Yeah.
and a lot of kids needed to kind of get out of their house, but they had to be in somebody's house. So my house ended up being that house. We had a bigger backyard that they could, get do monkey bars and play so that they could get some of that exercise, especially for boys. I mean, I have boys and they need the large motor skills and they need to jump and run and
Yeah.
play. And so they had the ability at my house during lockdown to do that. But it also then gave them a familiarity with me, that they felt that they could come and talk to me about things that were bothering them in their lives. And one kid in particular, was really trying to find where to go to school, what to study, how to, quote, make his parents happy and make him and do something that he likes, and those are different, those are difficult questions to be dealing with, that especially at that high school age many kids are dealing with. And with this child in particular, he needed somebody to listen to him, and he needed to talk out and think aloud his ideas and really work on them and be prompted to ask the better questions. And I think that that's the quality of your life is based on the quality of your questions, I think. And telling kids what to do, I think, is not the answer.
Mm.
Believing the kids have the answer within and asking the right questions, or prompting them and continually asking them questions, is a better way, because telling kids what to do, you've basically given them a fish. But asking them questions and teaching them the questions to ask themselves, you're teaching them how to fish. And so it's more important to teach a kid how to fish than to tell them what to do.
Mm. Thank you so much, Mrs. Kate. And this question brings me back to my own personal experience because my mommy, I think you are this type of mother that really wants to, but my mom, she's this type of, you have to stay inside. You must not go anywhere. You have to be here. I would like to ask, how can you balance guiding a child, allowing them to have the freedom to explore their own identity, because normally that thing too is risky, but how do you think you can do is guide them to just have that freedom to just explore their own identity, Fatma?
So I call it trust but verify. I trust my child is making the right choice, but
Mhm.
I'm going to verify they're really doing what they say they're doing. And I'm going to verify that they are, that what they've told me is really, and what they ended up in, the situation they ended up in, because they're kids, they don't even understand the situation they're putting themselves in sometimes.
Yes, yes.
And that's why your mom's doing the best she possibly can with the information she has. The reason your mom is telling you no is not because she wants to stunt you in any way, shape, or form. It's that
Mhm.
she knows more than you do about that
Mhm.
situation. She has experiences that you don't have. And so, with my trust but verify, I sometimes let you go into that experience. I trust
Mhm.
that you have a big, good head on yourself, but I verify it's truly going to be what you expect it to be. And I verify that it's going to be the safe situation to allow you to go into. And so, I and I don't necessarily, my kids didn't know I was doing all this verifying sometimes. No. I mean, there's a great story. One time my son was at school and
Yeah.
I was verifying that the situation that he was in was really a good situation. And I just showed up to school, and I had another meeting also, but I showed up earlier. Er, and and he looks at me and goes, "What are you doing?" Because he knew he wasn't doing
You
what he
didn't
was
expect it.
supposed to be doing. And he's like, "Your stalker mom! Stalker mom's here!" And I wasn't stalker mom. I was trusting that he was where and doing what he said he was going to do. And I was also trusting that what he was doing was good for him. And so yes, I was being a stalker mom, but I was allowing it to happen. And yet I was close by in case it got out of hand or it ended up being unsafe. And that situation ended up being unsafe. He was really grateful that I was there and we could leave then,
Mhm.
you know. So your mom's doing the best she possibly can with the information she
Okay.
has.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate Mrs. Kate. And I want to go to the point of challenges. I know parents will really be, most especially the mothers, because they're the one that always with their children. So, like, I want to ask the challenges they really face when they're trying to help their child to discover themselves. What challenges do you think parents really face, man?
Well, I mean, gosh. So you want to talk when the kids are really little? Some of my challenges were that I didn't think I could ever potty train my kids.
Mhm.
I mean, like they're going to go to college and still be wearing diapers, and it's going to be all my fault. But what I had to do and remember that, one, I am not going to be perfect. And so for me, the challenge was stop trying to be perfect.
Mhm.
Failure is good because you learn from the failure. But also, when you stop trying to be perfect, you've got to be quick to say you're sorry, slow to judge,
Mhm.
and learn from the mistakes of the past. Because you you can't just say, "Oh well, I was imperfect," and just roll off your shoulders and give yourself an excuse. Being imperfect is not an excuse to not do the right thing. Being an imperfect is the acknowledgement that you're going to make a mistake and you get the opportunity to learn from it. And what else do you have to do? You have to say you're sorry.
Yeah.
Because when you make a mistake, own it. And then you can't judge other people for their mistakes. So
Yeah.
that's my point.
Yes, thank you so much, Mrs. Case. And lastly, I just want to go to role model. How do you think role model is really important? I don't know if it's important to children, but how do you think role model, what role do you think it plays to children who are still grooming? Ma?
Oh my gosh, I think role models, it literally takes a village to raise kids, in
Okay.
my opinion. And so having your kids, sometimes I can say the same words to my child that they will not listen to me or hear me, that somebody else, another parent, can say
Yeah.
to my child, or even another child can say to my child, that they'll listen to a whole lot better. I mean, and it's not because of what I'm saying, it's because of their ability to be listened to that information. And we've got to remember to get our egos out of it, because if my child will listen to, my friend better than me about a certain subject, well, then golly gee, I'm going to put that my child with that other person and create the opportunity for them to listen to them. I mean, I'm a big proponent for getting the grandparents involved. Have grandparents teach your kids what they were great at. Have friends, the kids' friends, have the kids' friends teach your kids what they're good at. I mean, again, it takes a village, and you've got to figure out, again, the child that's in front of you, what works best for that child, and figure out who that may be. And it could be a teacher. One of my sons is excellent at math. I mean, amazing uh, child in that field. And he had this math teacher who, a very young math teacher, but that teacher's brilliant. You know,
Yeah.
great math teacher. And so I went into that math teacher and said, "Hey, listen, let me explain to you your role here. It's not only to teach him math, but teach him some of your life experiences, because he really admires and looks up to you." So letting him know, going to that teacher and having that teacher then understand, because that teacher had no idea how much my child looked up to him. And by telling the teacher and giving him that clue, he was ecstatic. He was honored and felt really good about the impact he was making. My child learned even more from him, and all I was is a catalyst to it.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Kate. Thank you so much, ma. And I want to just ask if you have any advice you can give to the parents who have children or who are taking care of children. Like, is there any advice you have for any of them, ma?
I think the biggest advice I have is believe in your ability to parent,
Okay.
because we all get nervous, and so many times so many people are out there telling us, "Oh, the experts say to do this, the experts that, oh, you have to do it this way." Forget all that. Believe in your ability. You know your child. God gave you that child for a reason, and guess what, you are going to be amazing, even in their mistakes. Remember, even in the mistakes, you are amazing. So believe in yourself and your ability to parent.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Kate. And there is a question I normally ask, ma. From the ancestors, from the forefathers, if there is anything you would like to bring back to our time today, what do you think that thing would be, ma?
Well, so I think one thing that is really important is to pass on your history. And
Thank
so
you.
the stories of grit, the stories of how your family got to where you are today, those stories are so strong. Those stories teach. And making sure, so my grandmother rode a horse and buggy in Central Park, New York, and my grandfather on my dad's side, he came over on a boat from Italy, and he was
Mm,
first generation in the United States. And
mm,
the struggles that he
mm,
went through, not knowing the language and learning the language, and and starting from nothing. And
mm,
those stories of grit, of those stories are who you are, and they make up your heritage. And passing those stories on, I
mm,
think, gives, so when the time when things get tough, you can rely on those stories and say, "Hey, listen, if my ancestors could do it, I know I already have it in me to do
yeah.
it." And so I think passing those stories on is so vital.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Gates. I want to appreciate you for your time, for everything. It was very, very interesting. I want to say thank you so much, man.
Thank you. And I really appreciate you doing this. And I wish you the best of luck. Keep on asking questions. I love it. Keep on doing their podcast. And I hope it grows and grows. And
Yeah,
if there's anything I could do to help it to grow, I'm happy to help too.
no problem, man. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, Mrs. Gates.
Thank you. Have a wonderful time. Bye.
Bye.